Hi everyone! Welcome to this time lapse in which I will show you the entire process of knotting the Plumeria pattern that I created and published on braceletbook.com. If you want to knot the pattern as well, you can find it there as pattern number 97868. In this video, I'll talk a little bit about the process of creating the pattern using the pattern generator that braceletbook.com has. And then I'll just talk about some of the issues that I ran into along the way and how it went overall. Making this pattern was a really nice experience. I really love Plumeria flowers and I find their fragrance intoxicating. It brings me a lot of peace and joy to smell them, so I thought it would make a nice design for a tapestry. All I knew is that I wanted the design to have 1 to 3 Plumeria flowers and probably some of their leaves in the background. I went on Google Images to get some ideas for a composition. When I came across this image, it stood out to me because the flowers were well defined anatomically, and the foreground was really clearly contrasting the background, which I find really helps the image to alpha generator do a good job. Once I found an image I wanted to run through the generator, I went ahead and did so. I then spent about maybe 2 or 3 hours total playing around with the design and altering things like the dimensions, the shades of colors used, and the location of the pixels themselves. I actually think of using the image to alpha generator as like taking tracing paper and a pencil to a photograph and doing a super quick sketch using that tracing paper. Then you're left with the task of looking back and forth between the original image and your design and rearranging those pixels in an attempt to make it have the best likeness that you can. And that's all I'm going to say about the generator for now because I plan to make a video all about it in the near future. Let's move on. When the pattern was ready, I submitted it to the Bracelet Book servers, and it was less than 24 hours for sure before it was approved and made public. I'm always very grateful for and impressed with the moderators on Bracelet Book because they have such a fast turnaround time on approval, even with the sheer volume of content that's being submitted all the time, like photos, videos, patterns, etc. Although I started knotting this pattern right away, a lot of things in my life kind of got in the way of me making a quick job of this one. And while I was still somewhat in the beginning, or at least in the first half, another user who goes by Fish and Fish uploaded a photo of the finished product, and it looks so good, everybody. So check that out. I think they did a fantastic job. It's so nice to look at. And where I was at in my project when they uploaded the picture, it really gave me a lot of motivation to finish because I don't know about you guys, but when I see a finished image of a pattern and I see how nice it looks done, it makes me just want to finish or start it or whatever and like see how mine comes out. So thanks for that, Fish and Fish. So you may have noticed that I originally was pairing gold metallic thread with the white string, and I did this for the first few rows for sure, like definitely the first 10 rows of white at least, maybe more, because I thought it would look really pretty to have the gold metallic thread peeking and shining through here and there in the white, and it does look really good. But as usual, I got actually really frustrated working with the metallic thread in combination with the normal embroidery string. It's just, you have to pull extra tight to get the knot to be the same dimensions as all the other knots. With that extra tiny bit of thread, it actually makes a difference. And I was just getting tired of it because the thread itself, the metallic thread that I have at least, is kind of slippery, so it doesn't hold the tension of the knot the same way that the embroidery thread does. And I just really quickly was like, you know what? It's not worth how annoying this feels to get the result. And I gave up on it. And you can't even really tell that like something was going on that stopped unless you really look at it. and then you do get like a couple flashes of gold, so I'm fine with it. I don't think that it's really noticeable here at all in the time lapse, so I'll make sure to do a video at the end showing you all the details in the sunlight. Alright, let's talk a little bit about the specific techniques that I was using in order to get the results I wanted for this project. First of all, I was using the straight edges technique, and I was also using the flat alpha technique. There are some really great tutorials about both of those techniques if you are interested to learn. I learned by watching videos of Masha Knotts. I think she's really good at explaining things, but there's also a lot of other ways to learn. I'm still practicing and pretty new to both of those techniques, but I've found that they make the final product look really nice. Even though I use the straight edges technique on every single one of my alpha patterns that I do, I still really struggle getting straight edges, but I think that's really because I haven't been making alphas for very long at all. I grew up making normal patterns, and I just never even really knew that alpha patterns existed until I was in high school, and I was trying to figure out how to make a friendship bracelet that had letters in it because I wanted to make my friend's name. And so when I was typing into Google, like, how to make, I don't know, whatever, I found out about alpha patterns, and I never really realized the full extent of what you could do with an alpha pattern at the time. I just found a site that showed me how to do the alphabet, and for some reason it just didn't even cross my mind that you could do different pixel art and different types of designs, so I just kind of left it at that. I made maybe 10 alphabetical bracelets afterwards, and I was like, wow, that was hard and fun, and I never really did it again. And then 10 years later, here I am having stumbled upon braceletbook.com and kind of had my mind blown at the database of patterns, both normal and alpha, but I was especially excited by all the alpha patterns because I love pixel art, I love making friendship bracelets, etc., etc. And yeah, I just got really carried away recently, making more and more alpha patterns, bigger and bigger. Right before this Plumeria one, I made a 100 by 100 alpha pattern, and that was a huge project and so much fun. So I definitely want to do a large project like that again soon, but I want to make sure that it's something I'm really excited about design-wise. I really enjoyed the design I did. It was a Mandelbrot set fractal image. But yeah, I just want to make sure the next one I do is hopefully even more exciting than that one so I can stay motivated to tie every single knot. For me, at least, some of the most time-consuming part of the whole process is just the color changes. If I have a bunch of knots in a row that are the same color, that flies by, and you'll see that in my time lapse. When there's a lot of color changes, it looks slow, and when I'm having a lot of colors of the same, I'm cruising. And then you'll also see me make a lot of mistakes. You'll see me going backwards with a safety pin, and coming up here, you'll see me undo quite a few knots just to alter one misplaced pixel. It was in the bottom left corner, and I basically started with the light green, I think one too early, so I had to go back quite a ways in order to move that pixel over by one and then continue from there. So here I am going backwards, untying knots, and yep, look, I just moved that light green over one to the right, all that for one knot. And then here I am getting really confused for some reason. I'm counting strings horizontally, and I'm counting my bass strings to see what's going on, and I honestly can't remember what was going on at that point. Sorry guys, but it looks like now I figured it out, and it looks like I'm still kind of counting and being really hesitant here. And now it looks like I'm confident about my strings and how many there are. And I have solved whatever problem was going on. And we're rolling again. At this point, I remember being really happy because the flowers were complete, and I felt kind of relieved because they looked pretty good, and I was concerned during the knotting process that maybe the colors I had chosen weren't the best, or that it wouldn't like be enough definition. And although I would have chosen slightly different colors, looking back, I was relieved that it at least looked good and resembled the flower that I wanted it to. I was especially happy with the greens I'd chosen because they really popped. I think the main thing I would have changed about my pattern, the pattern itself, is I would have put a black and gray dot in the top left flower as well. Once I was finished knotting the pattern itself, I finished things off with a tapestry end, except I barely had any length left on my base string, so I was only able to do a couple of rows before I called it a day and trimmed it. Alright, well, thanks so much for watching the time lapse and listening to me ramble on and on about how it was to make. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to leave any comments or questions below. Like the video so that you don't forget how to find it again later when you want to watch it again in 2 years. And come back for more videos. I'll probably put them out eventually in the future. You can find me on Instagram at Eyes in the Hands. And you can also purchase some of my work on Depop at Eyes in the Hands. Bye guys!